Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Today we are doing before you download. If you know anything about gaming, you know GameRanks does a before you buy series for video games. I like that series a lot. It's not a don't buy this because thing. It's just, hey, heads up, here's the review of it. It's just a reviewing. So if you guys like reviews of things, let me know in the comments. I actually am starting to review a lot of my Discord users stuff because they've actually asked me to. So I really like that. This one is Reggie that actually did this one, and then we're going to review Madison's from the Discord. We're going to review two different tools. I went through, Madison has a lot in her repository. We'll go through them, but I'm going to pick a certain one because it goes along with what Reggie did as well. So make sure you guys like the comments, or like the video, and in the comments let them know, you know, what you think's cool, what they could improve on. Don't be too critical, because obviously the point of this is to help the community and build, rather than tell people they don't know what they're doing or anything like that. Because the whole point, obviously Reggie created a Base64 decoder, right? Obviously that's been done before, but that's the whole point. He's learning, he's building his own tools. He's not using people's anymore, he's building, so he's getting to that next level. So before you guys go ahead and do that, make sure you hit that sub button. We're almost to 7K now, which is absolutely insane. Thank you guys so much. And if you guys have a something you want me to review, jump in the Discord, put it in the video requests, and we'll get you something reviewed in the next couple of weeks. I'm usually a couple weeks backed up, but this one was a pretty cool idea, and I liked it because I remember some of the first tools I created was a Base64 decoder as well. And then it's funny because Madison's actually was something, hers does a little bit more, and that was something that I did when I first was creating one too. So I thought it was really cool. So let's go ahead and hop into it. First things first, here's the two. All I did was git clone them, so I have them in here. Now we're gonna just review the whole process here. We're gonna do one at a time. So Reggie, we're gonna start with yours. So first things first, looking at Reggie's GitHub, I will tell you the first thoughts, right? And again, I'm not being harsh, I'm being honest, and everyone knows, especially the people in my Discord, I'm very honest, and that's because I think there's too many YouTubers out there that are selling this dream of cybersecurity and selling kind of a lie. And I hate to say that because it is a dream. I absolutely love my career, but it's not as easy as they're selling it. Meaning, they sell it as you go to college, you get a degree, you go get a cert, and you have a $100,000 job. That's not realistic. So I like to be honest with people and tell them what I think, because I think criticism helps build character. And I really mean that. And I mean criticism, not harsh, you know, not rude, not mean, just honest feedback, good criticism. I love to be criticized. People say stuff in my YouTube videos all the time about I need to make the screen bigger, I need to move my camera, and I try to take that into consideration when I'm doing other videos. So I really appreciate you guys doing that. So, all right, that was a little bit of a rant. So first things first, Reggie, your Base64 decoder, your GitHub page needs some work. And what I mean by that is, we'll go to Madison's real quick and just look, and we'll look at her Binario, which is the one we're going to do. And by the way, both these will be in the description, so if you guys want to check it out. You notice she has a README, and then she has a license. You don't necessarily need the license. The license is, you can get a free license, super easy to do, but the license is just so it's your work. So you may not need it if you don't feel like you need it. I can tell you on the Stuffy GitHub page for the YouTube channel, we didn't put licenses on any of it, and that's because I wanted you guys to kind of mess with it too. Then you have requirements. I don't think you have any requirements though, so that's okay, that's fine. And then here's the actual binario.py, and then you can see she has a picture of the menu as well. So nothing that you absolutely are missing. The big one that I would say you always want to have is the README. Always have a README. The reason for that is because, like right now, if obviously you have a name Base64 decoder, I would know what it is. But without that, I wouldn't know what it is, okay? So you want to have a README. Here's the actual script. You can see pretty simple, pretty easy, but I like it. So let's go ahead and hop into it. One thing I'll tell you that you did really well, right? Your comments are very good. They're concise, they're easy, right? Encode, this is what this is doing, encoding the payload. I actually am the opposite. I have a really bad tendency of putting way too many comments that are very detailed, and that's because sometimes I get lost in what I'm doing. And so I'm always been a note person. I've always been a note taker. I've always been a note person. So I'm very bad about putting like notes everywhere in my programs as well. So this is a lot cleaner than what I would have done. So I actually commend you on that. You've done a really good job on that. So now put your data to be encoded after data on the first line. Okay, so one thing here, it looks like, so let's go ahead and run it real quick. Let's just run it and see what happens, right? All right, so let's just run it, and let's run. Oh, it starts with a, so that's another thing I would say is I would remove that hashtag as the name. I would just put base64 decoder, but that's just personal. Okay, so you can see here is your encoded data, and here's your decoded data. So he actually put his data here. So one thing I would change personally, I think this is really cool. It's very simple, sleek, does what it's supposed to do, right? But one thing I would change is, and this is just my feedback, this isn't necessarily like the industry standard or anything like that. This is my opinion. Instead of making people use this to actually go and take and move this here, so like instead of me having to put my data here, I would actually go and put something in that asks the user to provide data. So the reason for that is because a lot of times with base64 decoding 2, you may want to actually go through and like take a file in base64 decode it, or encode it, excuse me. Why would I do that? Because I might be exfilling that file and getting it out of there. So this would be really tough to do a file or anything like that, because I would have to go and convert the file to a format that data will read here, which would be binary probably. And then I would have to put that in here, which would be a whole page long. And then I would have to run the script. So I would actually ask it to provide the data. And this is obviously a new script for him. So I think there's a lot of room to grow on this script. I think there's some really cool stuff he can do. So all in all, it's a really good script. Now let's try and see what it looks like if we change it, right? So we want to go ahead and we'll open it and we'll change the data. So the data we'll put Stuffy was here, right? And we'll save it and let's see if it runs. Okay, cool. So one thing I really like about it is not only does it give you the encoded data, it gives you the decoded data. The reason I like that is because you're validating what is happening. What I mean is, I'm not worried I typed it wrong or I misspelled something or is this the correct one, because it was here. Now, one thing, let's see if we can see it in here. The one thing I would be a little bit cognizant of here is you put in here that this is a decoder. And it's not, it's actually only an encoder. It does decode here, but the problem would be, in order for me to decode it, I have to put, you don't have a spot where you can put your base64 encoded and then have it decoded. What I mean is, you can see you have encoded data here and it's picking the encoded data, but you don't have, I can't take a base64 payload or whatever, say I get base64 somewhere, and put it into this script and have it run. You have the module here, the decoded data equals base64 decoder. You have it. You just need to put a spot, in my opinion, you need to put a place where instead of, so the way I'd have this script set up is, where instead of asking me or having me put it in here, I would ask, kind of like Madison did, where it's a menu and says, do you want to encode or decode data? And then depending on which one they want, if they want to encode it, you just say, what data do you want to encode? You give it to them, and then you give them this. Beautiful, simple, sleek. Then if they say, I want to decode data, they then can input base64 data, and it will decode it for them. I personally think that would be a little bit more of a seamless process, because right now I have to go edit the script every single time. But all in all, great tool, Reggie. Good job. Clean code. Well done. I don't see any major issues with it. I think, like I said, I would add a README page, maybe a license if you're worried about people if you're worried about publishing this or doing anything with it, but maybe a license. But besides that, great job, Reggie. Good job. All right, now let's look at Madison's. Okay, so Madison, the reason I picked Binario specifically is because it kind of followed what Reggie did, right? Reggie did a base64 encoder. Here she's got a base64 encoder. And then you can see, Okay, so this is another thing I would add if I was Reggie. See how she's got it set up to tell you how to install it? That's usually on the README page. Usually you want to say, hey, here's how you install it. Most people should, if they're using GitHub, should know how to install it, right? You should know. You can go to git clone, blah, blah. Should, keyword. The one thing, so again, the whole point of the series is to be critical. So again, I'm being critical in a good way. One thing I will say is I don't love this part of it. And this is just me, Madison. This is not hating towards you. I don't love when people do this. They say this is how you install it, git clone, then cd into it, then Python 3. The reason I don't love it is because you're actually doing two things here. You're installing it and then you're running it. I don't love that because I see a lot of people that don't know what they're doing going to GitHub repositories and they see something like that and they run all these commands because they think they're installing it still. But they're actually running the program and they don't know what they're doing. And this program probably just pops up and says, hey, what do you want to do? But some programs actually do something, right? Meaning like they might actually go reach out to something or do something. And so if somebody thinks they're installing it and they're actually just running code, it's kind of dangerous, right? Now, again, they shouldn't be doing that in the first place. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? But personally, I think there should be an install page and then a run page or a, whatever. That's just me personally. This is me nitpicking also, so keep that in mind. And then the requirements, you can see you will need to install ipcalc if Binario will not run. So I like that you put that. One thing I will do, and I haven't looked at your code yet. Let's see. Let's see if you actually So this is all your conversions. Okay, I see all the conversions, obviously. I don't see in here. Yeah, I didn't see in here, and I might have missed it. I just scrolled through fast. Keep in mind when when I do these, I'm not gonna go through every line of code and see if something doesn't work right. I might debug it, but I'm not gonna go through and be like, okay, she could have done this specific variable better instead of naming it W. You could have named it whatever. Like, no, I'm not gonna do that because people make code the way they make it, and I think that's good. I think it should be. I will, however, talk about the cleanness of the code, the comments. She did the same thing as Reggie, actually. She did a very good job of just, hey, here's what this module does. Here's what this, does. All that stuff. I think she did a great job on the comments. Again, I am a huge person that comments too much, and I know that. But I just have to do it for me. And so I understand it's annoying to some people. If you watch me when I code, I comment a lot, and it's not necessarily bad. It's just not best practice because it's kind of annoying when people are reading the code. But for me, I have to do it because I might have wrote a script or a program 3 years ago, and I have no idea what I was thinking, and I need to go back in there and see it. So that's just me personally. But what I was going to say is I don't see in here a place for the requirements. So, and I could be wrong on that. I could have missed it. But what I would do personally is I would actually put in the program a place that checks and installs those requirements. It's pretty simple. It's pretty easy. But I would put in there, one of the first things it does is run the requirements.txt file and installs it for them. That way they don't have to necessarily mess with it. Keep the requirements.txt, keep this here. You may need to install it, whatever. But that's what I would do personally. That's just the change I'd make. The menu. Let's take a look. So I'm a big advocate for these type of menus. The ASCII characters. I don't know how to say this. I don't love GUI characters. The reason is, GUI menus. I don't hate them either, but a lot of times they're just unnecessary. This type of menu is really clean, easy for me. But I will say, if this is made for people that aren't IT savvy, then maybe you want to make a GUI menu, but I really like it. I like it. It's easy, simple, sleek. I'm not going to break into the code, but one thing I would see is it says type menu or type exit. I'd be curious if those are case sensitive or anything like that, because sometimes I see that when people make menus like this, like, oh, they typed, like here, they typed 1 instead of 0, 1, so it didn't work. I try to get rid of as much of that as I can, make sure 0, 1, and 1 work and stuff like that. So hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, it looks good. I like it. Another simple tweak is I don't really see the, and I could be just off here on this one. You may have a reason that I'm just not, it's not clicking right now, but I don't see the reasoning for having an IP subnet calculator, or I kind of see that to convert decimal, the IP to binary. I kind of see the correlation there, but in my opinion, you could honestly probably have this be 2 tools. You could have the conversion here. Yeah, you have hex dump a file. That makes a little bit of sense in here too. The checksum again makes a little sense, but not necessarily needed, especially since that's a one-liner. But I definitely think the IP subnet calculator and the conversion of the decimal to binary and back and forth could be its own tool. I really do. I think you kind of, I don't want to say missed the ball here, because you didn't, but I would take that and I would make that its own tool, because that's a really useful tool for a lot of network engineers and a lot of network folks in general that probably look at this tool and would not even think about it, because the first 13 have nothing to do with that. So I would actually make that its own tool and separate that and put that in its own, because I would download that. I would go get one and be like, I don't want to do this, because I hate math and I hate doing conversions like that. So I think you kind of could take those and just split them up, really. I think that'd be pretty easy. So let's go ahead and run it. Let's go ahead and look at it. All right, so we're at Binario. All right, let's go ahead and run it. Okay, so now I got to install. So this is why I say I would have it installed, or have it install it for me. But we'll go down, and that's fine, and we'll look at we'll follow your instructions. Pip3 install ipcalc, and it may ask me for permissions, but okay. So now we installed it, and I know this isn't very large text, so give me a sec. I should have done this with Reggie's also, and I apologize. Okay, so first impressions, don't love the fact that it doesn't boot right into the menu. I don't know, that could be a choice because you may be adding more options later, so that could be a purposeful choice, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to make them type menu when the only other option is exit. Personally, that's just a little critique. Now we type menu. Okay, let me make this a little bit, expand this a little bit so it's the whole menu. There we go. I like you got the version number up here. I like that. I like that you have created by Madison up here. It looks like you changed it from the time you made the menu, because your menu had Madison blank blank here. I think that was a smart choice to get rid of your last name in there. But let's see. So we've got hex dump. Let's see. What do we want to do here? Convert hexadecimal, decode. Okay, let's just do the encoding. Let's follow Reggie's, right? Encode base64. So let's hit 10. Input base64 to encode. And we'll say Stuffy was here. And let me actually open a new terminal. And we're going to compare. They got to be the same, but we're going to compare Reggie's and yours and see. Okay, that's another thing I don't like right there. If you notice that, you cannot use this fully. It's not fully interactive, meaning I had to delete that to actually do it. That's just, these are little things I would tweak, not a big deal. As my voice just squeaks because I'm losing my voice. Okay, so Stuffy was here. We'll go ahead and hit enter and see if it matches what Reggie's does. Okay. Now, keep in mind, Reggie's is already got that in there, the text. And look at that. It matches. They're the exact same. So they both work. That's good to know, right? So that's pretty cool. I like the tool. I really do. I think it's really cool. The other thing I would do is, you notice I did input base64 to encode here, right? And then it just says it again, right? I would then have it, every time they do it, revert back to the menu. Because now what? I have to control C to exit this application every single time. Some people wouldn't know that. Some people don't know. They may think it's an endless loop and I don't know how to get out of it, which it kind of is an endless loop. So I would fix that, 100% fix that. That's something I would definitely fix. And then I would make it where you go in the menu automatically. And then also I would make it where it installs that IP calc automatically. And other than that, it's a pretty clean tool. I would also, like I said, I would take this 14, 15, 16 out completely, and I would make that its own tool because it's worth its own tool in my opinion. That is a very nice tool. Let's see if we can type menu. Okay, so you can type menu. Okay, that's fair. I still think you should make it go back to the menu because of the fact that I don't know that that's correct the way it was set up, meaning it just doesn't feel smooth. It feels like, okay, now what? Now I just type menu because I assumed, but what if I needed to encode the word menu? Base64 seems odd, seems like a very minuscule chance, but if your tools get big enough and enough people use them, there will be that need. So I would make the base64 encode whatever it says, and then take you back to the menu. Personal preference. Now, like I said, the IP subnet calculator, I think it's its own input IP with subnet. So this one, the only thing I'm worried about here, and let's see what it does. Will it take this, or do I have to put the IP and then space and then subnet? Okay, so it just built out the IPs. I think this could be improved too, but I do think this should be its own tool. I think you could improve this a lot and make it its own tool. What I mean is, yeah, you showed me all the IPs that can be displayed, or that can be made, right? Can be used. You do have it save. You can save as a file. I like that. What I would actually do, because some of these will get very complex if they want them to, is I would actually have it say something like, do you, or like, I would say like number of hosts here, number of subnets, whatever here, blah, blah. And I would have it broken out to where it's giving you the stats rather than print out all the characters. And then I would from there say, do you want to see all the IPs? And then save the file. Personally, I think that's a little bit, the tool's very good. It's very useful. It's just not super intuitive right now. And I think that's just going to take time to, build out. You've got the foundation in place that's really good. So hopefully this helps you guys. And you guys could read or listen to my review and say, screw you, I hate your ideas. Cool. This is your tool. Have fun with it. I think you guys are right on the right track. You're building the tools you want. You're building the tools you need. This is just my review of them. I think you should absolutely download these tools. The last tool we did, if you remember, I could not recommend it. It was not in a state that was able to be used in a good place. These tools I recommend, 100% recommend. I think Madison's will take you a little bit of finagling to get it the way, or to get the results you want, unless you're just using the conversion, because the conversion is super simple. I think Reggie's will get you 100% base64 encoded every single time if you edit the script. I think Madison's would be the more useful tool to encode currently, and that's only because she doesn't require you to edit the program every single time you do it. But if you're looking for something simple, sleek, can put it on a little flash drive. Both these could go on a flash drive, but what I'm saying is, if you're looking for something with very minimal code, very simple that you can just take with you, Reggie's got you figured out. So hopefully you guys like these videos. If you guys have scripts, programs, applications, whatever that you've designed that you want us to review, hop in the Discord. Let's talk about it, and we'll review them. Again, Reggie, Madison, awesome job. Great tools. Really do like them. Again, Madison, I think you actually built 2 tools here and you don't even know it. I think you've got something really special here with both these. And Reggie, I think you are right where you need to be, because now your tool here, once you get it where you can put in Base64 encoding like Madison has, you can start building out all these other modules like she did. So I think you guys, it's cool to see, because Madison's tool is like almost there, and Reggie's tool is like Madison's tool a year ago, right? So you guys are slowly building up to the same level, and it's really cool to see 2 skill sets that you're almost seeing where Madison's script was years ago. So I actually really like that. I think it's cool. I think it's really sleek. I think it's fun. Really appreciate you guys throwing in some entries. Hopefully this helps, and we're going to be reviewing some more of Madison's in the future as well. So hopefully you guys get used to seeing her style and the way that she does these. So thanks, guys. Hope you have a great day.